So for advisory, each of your course guides has basically everything you'll need. So each of the hyperlinks for each of the lesson folders and the learning checks is what you can use to make copies of resources that you can then assign to your own kids in your own classroom. So I would suggest making a Google Classroom to house all of your advisory materials and assignments that you want to assign for your students. So at the top of the guide, you'll see what the learning targets are for each day of the week that you're doing advisory. And then in the bottom chart is a suggested pacing. So depending on your building and how many times you have advisory, there should be more than enough items for you to organize and give throughout the week. So this is a suggested pacing. You don't have to stick to it exactly, but it's basically a pretty high suggestion of how you should kind of flow through the content. Now, that being said, all lessons and lesson folders are all updated before the month that you're supposed to teach the things. But also, you have basically a little bit of wiggle room here and there throughout the week, depending on your building, to rearrange lessons if you want to. So they don't have to go in this exact order. If advisory is a time for you to connect with your students and a small group of students regularly, so really getting to know them. So if you see a lesson that really pertains to what's going on in your room on a given day, and you take things out of order a little bit, that's okay too. But everything should be here. If you go way ahead in the course guide, we are still building a few months out and editing things as we go. You may see an empty lesson folder or two, but for the most part, everything will be updated at least a month before you're supposed to teach that content. So that is essentially the course guide. So I would suggest bookmarking once you know which grade you're going to have for advisory, bookmarking the appropriate guide in your Google Drive.